Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joey P. Joe Pisapia, and it's week 14. It's Friday. That means it's time to have some fun with the prop betting. Ooh-wee, it's going to be a good week of props here in the NFL market. To help us break them all down is the Welsh, of course, who hosts a million things over here between Betting Pros and Fantasy Pros for us, joining us again. And, of course, the Undertaker himself, Andrew Anderson. He has been the under machine lately and still continuing to make it all work. Although, Andrew, you did predict the over in the disgusting New England Patriots game that I'm not happy about the results. You're not happy about the results. Bogman's not happy about the results, but good job. You did go the over and you got that one right.
I mean, look, when the total was at 30 points, like, we have to find a way to stop here. Like, it can't keep going down, and we can't continuing to find value here because I didn't think there was any value. But I did talk about how you should be attacking the props, especially on the Steelers side, taking unders on those players because just because they're getting not a lot of yardage, that doesn't necessarily translate to points. So we saw points scored on the Patriots side, and we saw some red zone turnovers. We saw the Patriots, I mean, kind of looked like they were trying to give the game away in the second half, like the blocked punt. The guy was offsides. They called it on the Steelers, which was a really weird play. But unfortunately, the Patriots came away with the win. Hate to see it, but
You know, Joe, I would say, yes, he did get that wrong, but there's one key over that he got in this last week that we really should be focusing on here.
Look.
A key over that I got that someone went on the Magical Mystery Tour last week, slamming the over. How about those 49ers?
Yeah, look, and this is what we've all been waiting for. We have gotten to this point, and obviously Welsh could not even wait for me to give it to him. He had to take it because he is so excited to talk about it. And I'm a man of my word. I said I would come here next Friday and tell Welsh that his 49ers are not the wine and cheese 49ers. They are tough. They showed physicality. They showed that the moment was not too big for them. Brock Purdy was terrific. CMC was physical. You had Debo making big play after big play. And I think that it requires a little celebration here in honor of the 49ers because I did call them wine and cheese 49ers. So I got a nice little Pinot Noir here. It's from the Napa region. So not too far away. So I'm going to enjoy a little of this here on the show.
Are you going to drink on the show?
Yeah, well, I mean, I told you I'm a man of my word.
I don't even know if this is allowed. This is an over.
This is my punishment, because I was wrong about the Eagles and the 49ers whooped their rear end. I've got a little cheese here. It's a nice little aged Colby Jack. So
it looks like a Starburst. What is that?
It's an aged Colby Jack. So I'm going to have some wine.
Have like cubes of cheese just like ready to go in your fridge.
Yes, because I am a very cultured fellow. That's why, Erickson. So cheers to your 49ers.
More of a cheese stick guy.
Cheers to your over. Cheers to your 49ers. Cheers to Brock Purdy being the MVP conversation. You did it, 49ers. You earned my respect. And
spin it around.
I earned this. Oh, I already let it breathe for a while.
It.
Okay.
I earned, I earned this. I'm going to take it like a champ here. And
but in all seriousness, Welsh, when it comes to Purdy in this MVP conversation, do you think he actually is worthy of the MVP, or should it be Trent Williams / Debo Samuel, considering when those guys play, they don't lose, but when those guys miss time, they did lose a bunch of games?
Here's what I'll say. I think he's number one unanimous stuff, I kind of think that's silly at this point. Like, I do believe he is as valuable as can be because he is a fantastic game manager. This is Jimmy Garoppolo stuff. The whole time it was like Jimmy Garoppolo didn't need to be great. He just needed to not make the dumbest.
Plus.
Yeah. Well, he is Jimmy Garoppolo plus, but he needed to not make the dumbest decision that anyone has ever made. But he would do that 2 or 3 times per game. Brock Purdy doesn't do that. He makes like one really bad decision. And guess what? They also don't go against him this year. So he belongs in the conversation. I don't think he belongs as like, I think last I saw it was like 3-1. He was
Everyone's
number 1
3-1. Right now,
odds.
you got Dak, Hurts, and Purdy are all hovering there. 2 is hovering right after. And to tell you the truth, like, I think MVP might get decided on Sunday night between the Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Eagles, Cowboys game. That might be very well the deciding factors. If Hurts has a great game, I think everybody kind of jumps back on that Eagles bandwagon. If they go into Dallas where you couldn't beat anybody, I think that's a big conversation to have. But if Dak wins that game, I think you're going to see a very public push. I know you might, whether it's right or not, the books are going to make a very public push because the Cowboy money, it's like Yankee money, Welsh. It's going to come in. It's going to come in hard after
Cowboys quarterback has never won MVP.
Yeah, well, I was also going to argue, though, but like you get to that point, like Purdy just ripped apart the Eagles. If Dak rips apart the Eagles, I'm not really sure that's like, oh, we should now
No,
go
but
into that. Is it just
statistically,
whoever
what
beats
Dak's
the Eagles?
done-
Everyone's like, that's the guy.
I think when you're looking statistically and you're seeing the big passing numbers and the touchdown numbers and everything Dak's doing, statistically he stacks up ahead of Purdy. And
You know what I would do?
You know, it's about the wins, and now it's about winning big games, which is the thing that the Cowboys have struggled with.
On the Purdy side, there's no chance. If someone was like interested, like I do think he is going to vie for this. This is not the time. This is the worst time to bet him. Do it this week. Let Dak go throw for 3 touchdowns. Let him get better odds. Let Purdy go down to 4.5 or 5-1. Then place that bet, because here's the thing. Purdy is just going to stay there the whole time. The 49ers win out. We might get to that. It's just not completely done. I was curious. Has there ever been an MVP that was taken in the 7th round or undrafted?
Well, Brady was picked
think of
199.
Tom Brady was 6th round.
So
Yeah, but
Tom
no, Brady was 6th round. I'm saying
in the
7th round or...
I highly doubt it. No, unless it was some weird supplemental thing. And it's funny because like in my head when you were saying no quarterback for the Cowboys ever won, like I was thinking Roger Staubach and all the weird draft stuff that happened with him because of his military service back when he was young. So I don't even that's not an issue. So no, that's a really good question. And for my money, if we're really being honest, Tyreek Hill is the most valuable player in the NFL right now. Like he is making that Miami team work. Like, but we got props to get to. We got to get to this, and he's not going to win.
Well, there's some future bets in here. I don't know. There's some interesting future bet stuff.
Some future discussions.
There's no chance a position player can win that award with the quarterback numbers that are going on. I don't see it.
I mean, we've had running backs win it, so why can't? I mean,
if he has 2,000 yards, this year,
like
I think
isn't that the equivalent of a receiver does 2,000 yards?
As long as you don't have a Mahomes or an Allen or somebody like that, really, like the guys that are doing it right now, Hurts I think still is the favorite for a reason, but it is a really interesting conversation to have because I don't think any of them have really stood out for the entire season so far, whereas the one guy that has, it's been Tyreek 2000. Like that's the guy, but that's a conversation for another show. Let's also get to the props here, talk about week 14, and don't forget, it's not just football here. We've also got NBA fast break bets every Wednesday, every Friday. Matt Modi live 11 a.m. Eastern here on the channel. Go subscribe to Betting Pros YouTube channel so you can watch, you can ask questions, be involved in there. And remember, when you subscribe and you drop a comment below, you can win a 1-year free premium upgrade to Betting Pros. Start betting smarter, not harder. That's all you got to do. Drop a comment, subscribe, and ring the bell till it goes ding. Welsh, let's ring our bell since you are doing such a good job here, crushing life with the 49ers. Let's continue to ride the wave in a positive way for week 14. What do you have?
Yeah, let's crush some props. I think I was 3-2 last week, but we did hit that big alt line one, and I'm feeling we're going to go over this week. And I'm actually all overs. I tried to, in honor of Andrew Erickson, I tried to find an under I really liked. I just didn't. There's just all these beautiful
Not looking
overs.
hard enough, Welsh.
I was looking pretty hard, but that I wanted to lock into because there were so many overs. This one specifically, I love Packers receivers this week. Here's a good positive. If you listen to the Week 14 Dr. Chow Injury Report podcast that we've got here, you'll hear Joe and Dr. Chow talk about how we're not getting Christian Watson this week. Our eyes and the injury report have told us we're not getting Christian Watson this week. That means everybody moves up against one of the worst defenses against wide receivers. Jayden Reed has had at least 4 receptions in 4 straight games. He has hit 2 of his last 4 on his receiving prop, which is 38.5 yards right now. And without Watson, he gets in even more. Watson, by the way, he was hot in the last 2 where Reed suffered. The previous 2, Jayden Reed's receiving yard prop did hit when Watson was out. The Giants are the number 1 matchup for wide receivers in fantasy over the last month right now. Jayden Reed has been a major focal point of the offense, and this number is too low. Jayden Reed under 40 is a smash bet for me right now. I like Romeo Doubs. I think Wicks. His props haven't been out. All sneaky, but Jayden Reed is the playmaker in this offense. So we're going over 38.5 receiving yards for Mr. Jayden Reed.
I know the juice is 120, but I still love it. I'm with you. And I think all you do is you pair it easily with, you go a little safe with the Packers winning, or you could take the Packers points side. And I think that's a nice way to kind of get a little bit
And look
closer
around.
to the
I
plus.
found a 115 late last night. I found a 115, and I think if it moves to 39.5, I got no issue. I'll be honest with you. I contemplated using this as a ladder bet. I don't want to do it.
Like, you can't do it because you don't know if Wicks has a couple, big moments. You don't know, exactly if they have to push the football at all. Like, they could just be up on them early and then just kind of sit on the football. But
you could do a 40, 50, 60, and I don't hate it
I
whatsoever.
don't hate it.
But
I think you're better off taking
come
that
there with
heavy
it.
juice and putting it with the Packers and combining those things together. Erickson,
Yeah.
give me a prop bet for week 14.
Under. Josh Jacobs, 76.5 rushing yards. You can find this on FanDuel. This is where I can get the best line at 76.5 yards. Most of the other sports books have it around 71 or 72.5 rushing yards, but you can't run on the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings have allowed one running back the entire season to rush for more than 70 yards against them. It happened in week 2. This Vikings defense is super stout against the run, and even though the Raiders want to feed Josh Jacobs to his heart's desire, it's not going to happen against the Vikings unless he gets 30 carries. Now, even if he gets 30 carries, I still don't think he's going to get there. So I think Josh Jacobs, I think this number's way too high just based on what we've seen from Josh Jacobs in the box score when the matchup clearly looks like there's no chance that he's going to get over this number. The Vikings defense against the run is just too good. So I'm going to take the under on Josh Jacobs.
All right, let's get to the Jets-Texans game for Welsh's next prop. By the way, 2 days in a row where Breece Hall isn't practicing. I think once you name Zach Wilson starter for the rest of the season, I think it's time for you to start going, well, do I really want to push myself if I'm Breece Hall? Except the Jets offense couldn't get any worse. But what about the offense of the Houston Texans here, Welsh? What do you have for the people?
Yeah, so there's going to be some weather in this game, and that could affect the pass game. And also the pass rush on the Jets may be able to get to CJ Stroud. And when that happens, if that's happening, because CJ Stroud is going to want to throw the ball regardless of where the weather is, you might start moving. And that gets me to low rushing yard totals for really, really talented athletic quarterbacks like CJ Stroud. So rushing yards over 9.5, minus 115. You got to look around a little bit. Stroud has hit this in 2 straight weeks, 4 of his last 6, and Stroud has been running more. He's had 6 rushing attempts per game in each of the last 2 games. Also throw out, you've got Sauce on Nico. So if you're talking about first looks here, first look gets taken away, you then start running. That's a tougher coverage spot. Obviously, Noah Brown and Robert Woods are both interesting, but you take away first look, the likelihood of running goes up. Jets, they're averaging 24 yards rushing per game to quarterbacks. And this marker here, this is a crazy one. This rushing yard prop has hit against the Jets in 9 of 12 games this year. And they had a streak to start the year where this hit 8 straight weeks. 10 yards from CJ Stroud in this. Yup, smashing that.
Yeah, I'm betting it right now as you're talking about it. It's such a low number, too. It just feels like a gimme. So absolutely love that. And look, if you're looking for the props, again, go to the prop bet cheat sheet over on the BettingPros app. You scroll down, you can go game by game. You can go prop by prop, however you want to do it. Basically, if you haven't seen it yet, it gives you the projections for the player. It gives you the best place to bet it with the best odds, the over or the under. And it's like literally the cheat sheet. Like we're literally giving you the answers to the test. So go check out the prop bet cheat sheet. Let's go to the next one here for you, Erickson. We speculated after the bye we might get more Roschon. And how do you feel about that speculation?
I mean, I think that he's going to get enough work to get him to 14.5 rushing yards. 14.5 rushing yards. Like that's what his line is on DraftKings at minus 114. I'm like, he was like the starting running back when we last saw these teams play, right? I had to like check my notes again to be like, yeah, he was. He played the majority of snaps over Khalil Herbert. Now, the other factor in this is, okay, well, Deontay Foreman was inactive in that game. But still, teams don't go away from rookies after the bye week. Like, they're going to go away from a veteran. And I think that Deontay Foreman coming back from an injury, I think is more indicative of what we're going to see from Khalil Herbert. I think we're going to see less of Khalil Herbert, who actually has a higher rushing yards prop than Roschon Johnson. Foreman also has a higher rushing yards prop than Roschon Johnson. But Roschon Johnson played 74% of the snaps the last time we saw the Bears play. And they've hyped up this rookie ad nauseum throughout the entire season. And he would have had a bigger role had he not had a concussion earlier in the year. So, and the fact of the matter is just the number is so low. Despite all his other Bears running backs being involved throughout the season in and out of the lineup, he's been over this number in 8 of 10 games. He did it against the Lions, averaging 5 yards per carry. So I get the Lions have a tougher run defense against the ground. Don't care. I think we think the Bears are live as a winner in this game. So it's not going to be, they're getting blown out. So Roschon's going to get enough touches to get to 15 yards. Like, this is a gimme.
You know what I like about this too? The scary thing is Deontay Foreman, I believe, returning to practice was running with the ones and they pushed Khalil Herbert down. But this number is so stupidly low. They trust Roschon Johnson in pass protection as well. So if you get Roschon in theoretical passing situations and they want to run delays, that is more opportunity for him for a ridiculous. He could cash this in one carry easy. So
it's going to come on a draw, 3rd-15 draw play.
Yep. And it's a better number too. I was just looking, you can get it -110 over at PointsBet right now. So that's great. I was -114 at DraftKings. Again, this is why you're using the app, folks. Let's go back to you. Give me another prop for week 14, Welsh. What do you have?
How about you? Number 3 here, I'm going with a wide receiver. I'm going with Jordan Addison, 33.5. Now, Addison, with Justin Jefferson coming back, has people scared. Projections don't, by the way, quite work up with this. I was looking at like PFF projections, 46 receiving yards, yet the totals are down just because Dobbs had a bad week last week and you have Justin Jefferson back. Now, I'm going to put a caveat on this. Some of these numbers I'm going to give you are with Kirk Cousins, but Addison had not hit this total twice this entire season, this 33.5. Only twice this whole season he hasn't done this. He's played 5 games with Justin Jefferson. Through the first 5 weeks, this receiving yard prop hit all 5 weeks with Justin Jefferson. So this is a great matchup in here. I do not believe Dobbs is as bad before, and he hits this when Justin Jefferson is there because he's getting better coverage. Dobbs is the only X factor to this versus Cousins before, but Dobbs likes Addison. 33.5 is crazy low on Jordan Addison. So give me the over on his receiving yards because he hits it when Justin Jefferson is there.
Also, anytime touchdown for him, +240 right now over on FanDuel. Just saying.
3 touchdowns he scored with Justin Jefferson on his side.
Yeah.
I love that one. I almost picked that as my anytime touchdown.
Well, we'll get to those in a second. I hope Erickson decided to bring one this week because I wasn't sure if he was bringing
I got one cooking.
Oh, you got one? Oh, good. I'm glad. Now I can rest
I got a
easy.
dirty one. I got a real nasty one. You guys are going to hate it.
My God, I'm going to have to start drinking that Pinot again by the time we get to that one.
You're going to hate if I cash it, too.
You're right. I'm going to hate it even more. All right, let's go back to you, Erickson. Give us another pick here for the prop department for week 14.
Going back to the unders, Juwan Johnson, tight end for the New Orleans Saints, under 2.5 receptions. He was a bust last week, despite being really popular in fantasy football. Went goose-egged on 3 targets. He had 0 targets in the second half of the game. He actually ranked dead last in terms of receiving EPA in week 13. It was just a really bad week for Juwan Johnson, and I think it's just going to continue, to be totally honest with you. The Panthers have allowed the second fewest receptions per game to tight ends this year. Cade Otton was horrible last week because he faced the Carolina Panthers. He had 0 catches. He had 1 target. When you look at Juwan Johnson this year, he's only gone over this number 2.5 3 times in 8 games played. With Chris Olave healthy, like Rashid Shaheed and Olave both have to be out for Juwan Johnson to get any type of opportunities in this offense. They use Taysom Hill too much. They use Foster Moreau too much. So for me, Juwan Johnson, anytime I can bet against really fringe tight ends, as we know, tight ends are just absolutely horrible to rely on, I'm going to take that opportunity. So Juwan Johnson, under 2.5, -130.
They do hate him. They do hate him. Like they openly, they wake up in the morning and they're like, nope. It's just Taysom Hill and anybody else. I totally agree.
And I do not think you're going to get Derek Carr in this game because I think they figure, look, let's. I mean, he's got like 12 injuries right now at one time. He's got a rib issue, a shoulder issue, a concussion. Like I mean, they're playing the Carolina
shoulders,
Panthers.
knees and toes,
Pretty
knees
much.
and toes.
and if you're playing the Carolina Panthers, like you should beat that team with Winston even. Like that's all he'll point. So I would be shocked to see Carr.
Keyword should.
You're right. It is the key word. But again, strange things happen in 2023. All right, let's go to you, Welsh, for something that we can rely on this week in week 14.
Yeah, well, last week I brought you that Bijan Robinson receiving yard alt, which smacked, which was great. Every single time he had ever hit his receiving prop, it had gone over 25. So we just alted it to 25, and he did it, I think, on 1 catch. So, or maybe it was like at the second catch. It was beautiful. We cashed it. That's all that matters. So we're going back to the alt market again. We're not going crazy with it. We're looking at DJ Moore, who has been a monster, and we are alt receiving yard this to 75 yards so we can get plus money. It was around 67.5 when I looked at it last night on the normal number. Moore has hit this 75 number 2 straight weeks when Justin Fields was back at quarterback. The 2 games before Fields left, when he had got right, he hit this marker. 3 of the last 4, by the way, ladder bet. 3 of the last 4 with Fields, he has gone over 100 yards. Lions are giving up the 4th most receiving yards over the last month. Last matchup DJ had, he had 9 targets, 7 catches for 96 yards. By the way, DJ has one of the best cornerback wide receiver matchups going into this week. 75 alt is the play, but you want to dance and get tricky. I don't hate it. Maybe a little 70, 80, 90 or 60, 70, 80 with a little sprinkle on top. I'm not against it because DJ Moore is thriving with Justin
and
Fields
he can go
right
over
now.
100.
It's a great matchup.
And look, they took them to their limit. That was the first game that Fields came back. People forgot. We talked about this on the DFS show yesterday, which is audio only. So if you listen to the podcast version, you can always check out Debro and myself doing the DFS slate. But we talked about, like, this is Fields at home, not just playing to be the quarterback of Chicago, but playing to be a quarterback somewhere next year. And if it ain't Chicago, God, please let it be Atlanta. I would love to see Justin Fields be an Atlanta Falcon next year with those weapons and that offense indoors. That would be fantastic.
Oh my God, Drake London would be like wide receiver 15.
Drake London,
12.
Bijan Robinson,
10.
all these pieces would be so good. Kyle Pitts could be relevant again. I mean, forget it. It's just be so good. But I love DJ Moore this week. He's one of our favorite pieces in DFS, and pairing with Fields is a very easy duo. All right, let's get back to you, Erickson. Number 4 on the hit list for props for Week 14.
Monday Night Football going under. Derrick Henry under 56.5 rushing yards, because you guys know why? Because the Titans are playing on the road. The Titans are playing on the road. So we fade the Titans when they're not in Nashville. So Derrick Henry has only gone over his rushing yards prop in 2 of his road games played. One of them happened all the way back in week 1. One happened in week 9. So again, just following the trends here. Like, the Titans don't play well when they play on the road. And the Miami Dolphins have actually been one of the better run defenses as of late. Number 3 best defense in terms of against fantasy running backs over the last 4 games. They're allowing the league's 2nd lowest explosive run rate at 5.8%. The only team that is tied with that is the Vikings. Again, I'm betting on the 2 best NFL run defenses to shut down 2 of the top tier running backs who I think just have bloated rushing yard totals. So going under on Derrick Henry on Monday night.
All that works for me. All right, let's get to another one. Welsh, let's get to you for another pick from the Week 14 slate. Your last one before we get to the touchdown calls.
Yeah, I am a sucker for receiving yard running back props, especially if you can target the right ones. And I found the right one this week. It is Joe Mixon receiving yards 21.5 over. Mixon has hit this total 3 straight weeks and 6 of and over 3 of the last 6 weeks. 12th in targets for running backs and 6th in snaps where they run a route are his rankings. So again, he has had the 12th most targets at running back. He is also 6th in snaps where they run a route. So he is out there where running backs are running routes. Jags are averaging 6 receptions a games to RBs over the last month, and the 3rd most receiving yards to running backs. Browning loves throwing it to Joe Mixon. We've seen huge reception totals. To be honest with you, was staring at the receptions in general to maybe play that, but this is a much safer marker here. It's a great matchup. He is out there when RBs are running. Browning trusts him. He trusts 2 things. He trusts Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon. Those are the things. So Joe Mixon, absolute smash for me on the receiving yards at RB.
And I know we like the over on that game. At least we did yesterday, Erickson, myself, and Boggs. We think that's going to be the fun, sneaky game when everyone's talking about the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills, or maybe the Dallas Cowboys and the Eagles. How about that Cincy game? I think the Cincy game might be very surprising. All right, Erickson, give us one more call for the prop department for Week 14.
It's going to be, it's an over, folks.
Okay.
Going with the over here.
Whoa.
Got to end on a strong note. So going Cade Otton, tight end, over 23.5 receiving yards. So this is not a ladder bet situation. He's a tight end, but let's not get crazy.
God,
but
2 overs in one show. Are you okay?
And a tight end.
I'm doing fine.
Okay.
I'm doing fine. Feeling good.
Wellness check.
The Falcons are one of the worst defenses against tight ends. 6th most receiving yards allowed to tight ends, 59 per game. 4th most catches allowed at 6.1. And before last week, in that tough matchup against the Carolina Panthers, Otton was over 27 receiving yards in 5 of his last 6 games played. He's also went over this number when he last faced the Falcons, caught 5 balls for 43 yards. So I think it's just a little bit of recency bias with Cade Otton coming off a game where he had a goose egg. It was a bad matchup against the Panthers. The Falcons are a really good matchup for tight end. So I really like Cade Otton, especially because he plays every single snap for the Buccaneers offense. So I like him in this spot.
All right, let's talk about some touchdowns, boys. Welsh, start us off. You said it's weird, so people don't realize how weird it's going to be. So I hope you're all sitting down.
So, Zach Wilson, anytime touchdown. He does not have a rushing touchdown this year. He has one last year, and I believe he had 4 in 2021. So that's 5 rushing touchdowns. One of those was against the Houston Texans. We have bad weather. Mm-hmm. We have Zach Wilson putting the team on his back, and we have got a banged up Breece Hall. I mean, this is Zach Wilson's team, guys. Zach Wilson is going to have a short yardage rushing touchdown this week, and we are getting 6.5 to 1. Anytime touchdown, Zach Wilson. Boom.
Well, you're right. It definitely is driving me back to the drink. That's definitely back to the
Get that wine back. Get that wine back. You might have to take a sip before you make the bet, but when you cash it will be a
I might have to drink a
beautiful
bottle
payday.
after. But Erickson, you were late to the party on the touchdown. So who's the pick this week?
Oh no, I just kept the same guy in the show sheet from last week, but you took him out.
Well, I don't know what your thought. Why would I think that you're copy paste?
That's why I left him in. I left him in because I was like, because
then
I was
why
week
didn't you
early.
say, hey, don't delete the guy that I picked last week because I'm just going to roll it over?
I thought we were on that
you've been drinking,
next level
Joe.
mind connection.
Well, that's
because you've been drinking.
That's
man.
not false. So, all right. So who is it? Remind the people who maybe missed yesterday or last week's
It's
show.
Brevin Jordan. Brevin Jordan is going to catch a touchdown this week.
Okay.
So last week didn't pull through, but again, Cortland Sutton has taught me a very valuable lesson. Sometimes you're just early. Sometimes you're early on touchdown scores.
So what, next year he's going to catch all the touchdowns? Is that what you're saying?
No, Brevin Jordan's going to catch a touchdown this week because the Jets are one of the worst defenses against tight ends allowing touchdowns. They don't allow touchdowns to wide receivers because they have their stud cornerbacks lock down all the top receivers that they face, but they let the tight ends run wild in the end zone. So not only is Zach Wilson going to score in this game, but Brevin Jordan's going to score in this game, and we're going to get these odds parlayed together at like 10 to 1. So what do you think, Welsh?
I like, you know what I was trying to do? Why can't I find this? I wanted to pair Zach Wilson with Brevin. Yeah, here we go. I'm about to do it.
Lord.
You pair our 2 anytime touchdowns together. Ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it can't.
No,
I have
might
to
not
anytime.
be.
Yeah, you just said that. I have to anytime. So I don't know what it is, but it's going to be beautiful. And yes, we're going to do it. It's the ugliest same game anytime
It's plus
parlay that has
300.
ever
You would
existed.
think that the Brevin Jordan number would not be quite
That's his
as-
individual one.
Yeah,
Well, that's the
his
individual.
individual one.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
still, I think that's a little, like, a lot of credit for Brevin Jordan, you know?
I kind of agree. That
It's the same number as Noah Brown. I think that's a little absurd. Pardon me.
The safest one on the planet for me was that Jordan Addison one.
Oh, I
because
love
you're
the
getting
Addison.
close to.
I mean, you're getting Addison at
close to-
240. Why would I take Brevin Jordan at 300?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're getting
Because
like
it's going to happen. That's why. Because
you're getting
right.
close to like 3 to 1 on that. I think that's the best one. But hold on, I'm going to do the same game parlay because I can now do it here. Zach Wilson and Brevin Jordan because I clicked on same game parlay. It is 24 to 1 if you want to do that. There's a Betting Pros prop special 24 to 1 Zach Wilson, Brevin Jordan, and you're
getting plus 27.90
on
on FanDuel on that, boy. You know why? Because Zach Wilson's number is 750 right now on the FanDuel side. So drink up, everybody. Just as a reminder, you've got Jayden Reed 38.5 receiving yards. Welsh likes the over in that one. Stroud rushing yards over 9.5. Jordan Addison receiving yards over 33.5. DJ Moore, alt receiving yards, 75. Joe Mixon, receiving yards over 21.5. Then you've got on the other side of Andrew Erickson, Josh Jacobs under 76.5 rushing yards. Roschon over 14.5 rushing yards. Juwan Johnson under 2.5 receptions. Derrick Henry under 56.5 rushing yards. Cade Otton over 23.5 receiving yards. He's calling Brevin Jordan. The Welsh is calling Zach Wilson. And I'm calling for a refill because those are some big odds. But you know what? That's what we do here. You play big. That's what we're doing. We're having some fun here on Betting Pros. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Drop your comments below. What are you in on? What are your favorite props? I want to hear from you. Drop them below in the channel. Go join our Discord too. It just costs like 25,000 people or some crazy thing like that on the Discord for Betting Pros. Get in there. Start talking to the geniuses in that group. It's fantastic. fantasypros.com/chat is how you join. It's free. You can go check that out as well. Don't forget about the holiday offer we've got running too. bettingpros.com/promo. That's where you get the 1 year for free when you bundle them together. And of course, check out Fast Break Bets, the NBA show right here on the channel as well. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For the Welsh and Andrew Erickson, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Cheers. Tastes like victory.